Welcome everyone to Mom Street USA. My name is Jackie, aka Wishes Mama, and on today's episode of Mom Street, we are talking Disney resorts. So we have been spending a little bit of time kind of hopping around between a lot of the different Orlando theme parks with our content recently, but we're kind of going to bring it back to some Disney focused topics here going forward for the next several episodes that I'm going to be doing. But today we are going to be talking about the top 10 Disney resorts for kids. Now, you may hear that title and go, wait a minute. Aren't all of the Disney resorts good for kids? They're Disney resorts. And the answer to that ultimately is yes, right? All of the Disney resorts are good for kids. They were meant for families for the most part. There's only maybe a few here and there that are like geared more towards the adults that are visiting the parks. But generally speaking, all of the resorts that you're going to come across that are on Disney property are good for kids. However, some do have more activities or amenities that are geared towards kids. So, that being said, these are the kind of research based opinions of us over here at Mom Street. Now, I did also poll our wonderful Mom Street community on our Discord channel. So, some of these were on their list as well as mine. So it was fun to kind of hear from some of you about which ones you liked or which ones you thought were good and those types of things. And this doesn't mean also that if you're planning to go to a resort that is not on our list, that it won't also have great options and that it won't be a really good choice for you as well. Like I said, every Disney resort is good for kids. It's at Disney. It's meant to be good for families and kids that are visiting the park. So for this list, I know it is going to be a top 10. However, they're not really going to be ranked in order. I had a really hard time trying to put them in any sort of order. It's so many of them are kind of like comparing apples to oranges when it comes to the resorts, just because Disney does have such a wide variety of resorts that they offer. So, these are simply just the 10 resorts that we find are good for families with kids in an alphabetical list provided for you to help you start to look into some of these or maybe help you make a decision if you're thinking about a couple different ones for an upcoming trip. So, that being said, Disney on property does have three different levels of resorts, and we are going to talk about all three different levels. My list of 10 here does include resorts from all three levels. So, your value level is going to be your basic level, your bottom tier of Disney resort. So your moderate level is going to be that middle tier, kind of your middle amenity offerings and middle of your the price ranges that they offer. And then the last category that they have is the deluxe category, and that is going to be your top end resorts, higher budget price point, and also more amenities, typically speaking, for that. So you will hear me mention for each of these which category they fall into and kind of what the price range looks like. Generally speaking, for the categories that Disney uses. The value is anywhere up to about $250 to $300. Moderate is going to be in that 3 to 5 range, and then your deluxe is going to be kind of that 5 and over. So that's kind of the general range that they use to categorize those. Now, all of that also being said, when I'm giving you prices in this episode, please, please, please understand that these prices at some of these resorts vary so much depending on time of year, how many people you have in the room, what activities are going on. Is there a holiday? Is it, summertime? Is it wintertime? All of those things can definitely affect the price points that you're seeing at any resort, right? Not just Disney, but especially at the Disney resorts. So these prices that I kind of tried to find maybe a middle ground. So these are like end of April, beginning of May prices as of where they sit right now. Again, if you pull up the Disney website and you put in different dates, you may not see these exact prices, but they're meant to just be a ballpark for you to give you an idea of what budget kind of range you would be in if you were to stay at this resort. So hopefully that all makes sense. Without further ado, let's jump into this list that I've got for you guys today. A couple different categories within the resorts that we're going to be looking at. I looked at kind of overall theme of the resort. I looked at what room types they have because different families have different needs and different configurations that they might be looking for. I looked at the amenities, so like the pools and the dining primarily. Transportation was a big one that I looked at, and then obviously the budget, just to give you guys a price point for that. Now, I will say that I did not. Take budget into consideration necessarily to pick these, which is why you will find some on the value side and some on the moderate side and some on the deluxe side for this. Because I understand that everybody has a different budget that they're working with when it comes to visiting Disney. So I didn't want to say, well, it's best if you stay value, because that's what I do. I want to give you guys all of that information to kind of make those decisions for yourself. So those were kind of the different categories for each of the resorts that I looked at when I was kind of making this list for you guys. That being said, I'm not going to go into every single detail about all 10 of these resorts. I'm just going to kind of give you an overview to give you kind of a snapshot picture of what the resort has to offer. And then from there, you can reach out to a travel agent. There is a travel agent that we have an affiliation with through our sponsors over at Chip and Co. So head over to their website if you are in need of a travel agent. They've got one that will help you with finding out some of that information if you need help with it. But this is kind of just the first overview of some of these resorts that you could potentially look at. So we're going to start off with a bang because, like I said, we're going in alphabetical order here. So we are going to start off with Animal Kingdom Lodge. This is the first resort on our list of 10. It is a deluxe resort. The theming for this one is exactly what it sounds, Animal Kingdom. So think lots of African influences. One of the biggest draws of this resort is that you actually have a view of the animals that are residents there at Animal Kingdom. So there is like a savanna area that is directly up against some of these rooms, and you will see if you go to book a resort or a room at this resort that some of the rooms have a savanna view. That would be windows that are facing that animal area for Animal Kingdom Lodge. A couple different room types that they have just standard rooms that will sleep four. They have deluxe studios that sleep four, and they have villas over there as well that will sleep up to 12. So a couple different configurations if you're looking for some rooms that maybe have more of a studio feel with some extra amenities with that if you want, kitchen spaces and things like that. But then they also have more of like a standard room option there as well. As far as amenities go, they've got two pools. One that has a water slide, but really the main amenity draw is just having that African feel and being so close to those animals. It's pretty incredible if you're staying there to think about the fact that you could wake up and look out your little balcony area and see a giraffe or a zebra or so many other animals that they've got over there. So that's the real big draw of this resort and why it's so fun for kids is that. But they do have two pools, one that includes a water slide. They've got a ton of really great dining options. So if you have a family that really enjoys eating and trying different things to eat, different kinds of food, they've got 9 different options between quick service and table service restaurants. Um, Two of the big ones being Sanaa and Boma. So those are both very, very popular ones. They have a lot of African flavor influences in their food. Boma is a buffet option, which is always really good to have when it comes to kiddos because you never know what they may be hungry for in the moment. One of the only downsides that I could say to this resort is that they only have strictly bus transportation. So you'll hear me today talk about the different transportation options that Walt Disney World resorts have. Some of them have better ones than others, in my personal opinion, but some people enjoy the buses more than any other option. So you can make that decision for yourself. But if transportation options are a plus for you, unfortunately, Animal Kingdom Lodge only has bus transportation for you at that resort. Now, the price point, again, on average, looking at kind of an average price, you're gonna be looking around 600 a night. Uh, that's gonna change if you're doing a 12-person villa, obviously. So that is kind of that average standard room price is gonna be around that $600 figure a night. Again, the more amenities that you include in your room, the higher the cost is gonna go, obviously, for that. So that's your kind of snapshot of Animal Kingdom Lodge. And now, as we move on to our second resort in our list of 10, we're going to do something completely different because we are going to go to the complete opposite end of the budget spectrum. And we're going to hop down to the value resorts for this next one, sticking in our A's because we are going alphabetically here and not in any particular order other than that. We are going to go to the Art of Animation Resort. So this is a value resort, very different feel from what we were just talking about at Animal Kingdom Lodge. This one does have more of that kind of standard value motel feel where you enter from the outside into your rooms. I should mention Animal Kingdom Lodge is more of a standard hotel option where you enter from the inside. So that's kind of one of those bigger differences that you will find between some of the deluxe and moderate and value resorts over at Disney. The theme for Art of Animation is, again, exactly what it sounds like. It is animation, it is art, it is drawing, it is painting, those types of things. So you will see larger than life creations featuring a couple different favorite Disney IP intellectual property movies. So Lion King, Cars, Finding Nemo, and Little Mermaid all have different sections at this particular resort. They've got two different room types. So they have your standard rooms that are just like your other value resorts. So if you're familiar with value resort rooms, their standard rooms are almost identical to the ones you'll find at the other value resorts. And those are your Little Mermaid rooms. So those will sleep for, again, your standard kind of setup for values. They also have family suites, and that is one of the biggest draws, especially for families that need a little bit more space or need a separate bed area, bedroom for a little one. The family suites are really, really good for that. So the family suites will sleep up to six. The nice thing about them is that they've got two full bathrooms. And like I said, they do have like a master bedroom situation that you can close off from the kind of dining and like TV kitchen area as well. So that's a big draw for a lot of people that are a little bit more budget conscious, but need a little bit of extra space or want that little bit of extra space for their family. We have stayed at both the Little Mermaid rooms. We've stayed in the Lion King family suites and the Nemo family suites. And I really like Art of Animation. It's a really fun resort. It's got a lot of really great theming that is truly like Disney theming because you're going to find these, bright colors and big characters and things like that all across the resort, which is super fun. As far as pools go, there are three pools across the entire resort. The main pool being the big blue pool, which is the Finding Nemo pool. One of the biggest draws to the big blue pools, it is a zero entry pool. So again, if you've got littles that are not quite walking yet but love to sit and splash, this is a fantastic option for you. We just stayed at Art of Animation on my last big family trip that we did, and it was with my nieces. And at the time, my youngest niece was only about 10 months old, and she loved getting to sit at that zero entry spot of the big blue pool and just splash and watch the kids run around. It was so great. So having that is a really, really big perk that not a lot of other pools across property have. A lot of them are just the standard step or ladder options to be able to get into the pool. As far as dining goes, they are a little bit lacking in the fact that they only really have the one quick service location. They do have a pool bar, but again, you're not really going to find a ton of options at a pool bar. It's just going to be mostly a few snacks and your drinks out there. But one quick service restaurant that they have there. As far as transportation at Art of Animation goes, they do have buses, but they also have the Skyliner, which is a really big perk for staying over there as well. A little quicker transportation option to if you're looking to get from your resort to Hollywood Studios or to Epcot. You can take the Skyliner there, and then you would do buses to Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom if that was where you were headed for the day. Now, as far as your budget goes, this one is a little bit interesting because it is in the value category. However, I definitely think the Little Mermaid rooms are in that value category. The family suites, price-wise, are a little more on the moderate side. So with that in mind, the Little Mermaid rooms you're gonna find in that kind of 250-ish range, per night, again, on average. Prices can change, they can go up, they can go down, you can find deals, all of that. For the family suites, you're gonna find that closer to 400 a night. So, again, that's a little bit higher. Uh, you're going to it's unfortunate because with that higher price point, you would want more amenities to kind of go along with it, but you're still at a value resort. So that's the only downside is just that price point. The space is great. The layout is great. Having double bathrooms, all of that is great about the family suites. The price point, maybe not, depending on your particular family's needs. But that is kind of Art of Animation in a nutshell. So we're going to hop back over to the deluxe side, kind of going back and forth a little bit here. And we're going to talk about the Beach Club Resort. This is one that several people have suggested either via blogs that I read or on our Discord channel. But the Beach Club Resort is the next one. Obviously, the theming is pretty evident with the name Beach Club. And it is, like I said, a deluxe resort over in the Epcot area. As far as room types, they have a couple different options. I should also mention that a lot of the deluxe resorts that I'm going to talk about tonight are also DVC locations. So if you're not familiar with DVC, that is the Disney Vacation Club, essentially the timeshare program that Disney runs. So some of these bigger rooms you will find on the DVC side of things. Some of them are still available to just your regular average guest, but some of them are DVC spaces as well. So do a little bit of looking and research when it comes to some of these bigger rooms and villas and some of that kind of stuff. But the room types over at Beach Club, they do have standard rooms. Their standard rooms will sleep anywhere from 4 to 6, depending on configuration. They have suites that will sleep 4 to 8, and then they have villas that will sleep up to 8 people in those. Amenities. The pools here are a little bit different in that the beach club shares a lot of amenities with its sister resort, the yacht club, which is directly next door. And then there is the whole like beach club villa area is like a separate section of this resort as well. So there are a total of 4 pools amongst that entire complex. But if you stay at the beach club, you have access to all of those. The big draw of this resort and one of the main reasons why it's so good for kids is their main pool area is called Stormalong Bay, and it is the sand bottom pool on Disney Resort. So it is the big draw. It is the infamous reason why a lot of families like to stay at the beach club. It does also have a water slide featured there as well. It is a very, very big deal for kids to be able to go to. And just the theming overall super, super fun, very, very beachy. You're gonna feel like, you're in Florida, but you're gonna feel like you're closer to the coast whenever you stay here. It is really close to the water that you will find outside of the International Gateway entrance to Epcot, because that's where you'll find these different resorts that we're going to talk about in that area. This one and the next one, actually. As far as dining goes, at the beach club, you've got 8 different dining locations that you can utilize if you're staying there. Some of the highlights over in that area, Cape May Cafe is a character breakfast that is very, very popular. The Beaches and Cream, Ice Cream Shop, and Ale and Compass, which is more of like a steakhouse feel. Those are all really, really great options over there. You are also in close proximity at the beach club to walk to the yacht club, which has a ton of food options, the boardwalk that has a ton of food options, and you are right in the heart of getting to Epcot World Showcase if you've got park tickets. So the food here not lacking in any way, shape, or form when it comes to your options and selection for that. The transportation here, you've got bus transportation. You've also got boat transportation. Like I mentioned, you are close to the waterway. I wish I could remember what that waterway is called. I'm sure it has a name of some sort, the one that sits outside there. But you do have some boat transportation to Hollywood Studios. You've got bus transportation, and then technically, you are close enough that you could walk to the Skyliner if you wanted to hop on the Skyliner to take it. It's not officially a Skyliner resort according to Disney, but it's definitely close enough that you could walk over to that International Gateway area at Epcot, and hop on the Skyliner to get to, like, Hollywood Studios if you chose to from this location. So, uh, tons of transportation options here, which is really, really nice. Now, as far as budget goes, again, this may be misleading, but your standard average cost is going to be around 700 a night. And that is more for that standard room option. Suites and villas are going to be more, and they're going to be more of that kind of DVC point system that you're going to want to look into if you're going that route with, especially with the villas. But around 700 a night is what you're looking for, or is what you're going to be looking at when it comes to the beach club. Again, that is what puts it in that deluxe category for resorts. So that was number 3. Number 4 on our top 10 Disney resorts for kids is just around the corner from where we were. Let's talk about the boardwalk. So the boardwalk's theme is the Atlantic City waterfront. So think about your kind of almost exactly what you think of when you hear of, like, the boardwalk. That's what you're gonna find over there when it comes to the theming of everything. The room types that they have at the boardwalk, they've got a standard room that'll sleep up to 5, they've got deluxe studios that'll sleep up to 5, and again, they've got those villas that are the DVC locations that will sleep up to 12. As far as amenities go, they've got 3 pools, and the main pool being the Luna Park pool, which is carnival themed. It is a 1920s amusement park theme. This is the one that has the infamous, or had the infamous clown face in it for the longest time before it went under a refurb, and they switched up a little bit of the theming over there. But it is a very big draw for kiddos. It is a super well themed area. From the outside, the boardwalk looks a little plain, so to speak, because it's not, you don't find those larger than life characters or things like that that kind of show you what it is. But once you get into the pool area and some of the, more inside areas to it, the theming is really, really well done over here. So the pools are definitely a big draw. Dining, again, you've got like 10 plus options over here. You've got the Boardwalk Deli, you've got the Boardwalk Pizza window, you've got Trattoria Al Forno, which is a really great Italian restaurant, and you're within walking distance of Yacht Club and Beach Club. You're also within walking distance of World Showcase at Epcot. So tons and tons and tons of food options. So between the pools and the food options, that is a really big seller of both the beach club we just talked about and the boardwalk, because you have such great access to so many different things. And this one, again, you've got really great access to, you've got boats running as transportation, you've got buses, and you're within walking distance of the Skyliner. Again, not technically a Skyliner resort according to Disney, but very easy for you to just walk to that International Gateway Skyliner station and hop on and head where you need to go. So that is what the boardwalk has to offer. Again, in that $700 a night range for those resorts rooms as well. That is going to be more of your standard side of things. The villas obviously are going to be significantly more because they sleep more people. The bigger the room, the more people you can fit, the higher the price point's going to be for that. Cruising right along to number 5, we are going to reach our first moderate resort. And that first moderate resort that we are going to talk about is Caribbean Beach Resort. This is a very, very popular resort in that moderate category for a lot of families. It is a massive resort. So you really need to do your research if you're looking to stay here to figure out what section you want to try to request whenever you do your reservation because it is a massive resort. Let me say that again. It is a massive resort. So there are 5 distinct island themes in the different sections for this resort. Again, Caribbean Beach gives you a good idea about what those themes are going to be like. But those 5 distinct islands are Barbados, Jamaica, Martinique, Trinidad, and Aruba. So those are your 5 locations that you can find when you go to book. Again, highly, highly, highly suggest that you look at a map of the resort to figure out where you want to be. A lot of people like to request being either close to the pool or they like to request being close to the Skyliner hub. So keep those things in mind, and we'll talk about the amenities and the pools here in just a second. But you definitely want to take a look and get a lay of the land before you officially book. And when you go to book, make sure you put in those requests that you're trying to get in the correct section so that you have access to the things that you want to have access to. That being said, you're still going to be able to get around. It just might be a little bit longer of a walk to get to, the main building or the Skyliner or wherever it is you're trying to get to. As far as room types, they do just offer kind of your more standard room style. They have some rooms that also include a fifth sleeper, so they do sleep up to 5 in a lot of their standard rooms here. As far as amenities go, they have 6 pools. So I talked about people wanting to be close to the pool. Well, they want to be close to that main pool. The main pool has 2 water slides. The theming is really, really great. It's a super fun pool complex for kids. So that is one option of where you want to potentially request if you're looking at different places to figure out when it comes to taking a look at that resort map. But you definitely will find a pool nearby because every single island section has their own pool. So definitely going to have access and close access to at least one of the pools at this resort. As far as transportation, I did mention earlier, they do have buses, obviously, but they are on the Skyliner line. So Caribbean Beach is an official Skyliner resort. They have their own little hub area for the Skyliner. So you can easily get to Hollywood Studios and Epcot with the Skyliner from Caribbean Beach. As far as budget goes, like I said, it is in that moderate category, so you're looking around 350 a night. Again, you can find deals, that price does range, but around that 350 a night price range is what you're going to be looking at for Caribbean Beach. Okay, we have reached the halfway point. Just to recap, so far, we've talked about Animal Kingdom Lodge, Art of Animation, the Beach Club, the Boardwalk Inn, and Caribbean Beach. So we're going to move on now to number 6. So number 6 on our list of top 10 Disney resorts for kids is back into the deluxe category at the Contemporary. This one I feel like is one of those resorts that is on almost everybody's bucket list to an extent. Just because it was one of the original resorts that was created when Walt Disney World opened. And I think it's just so iconic, right? It's just when you think of Disney resorts, the Contemporary is one of those that like immediately comes to mind. So the theming inside of the Contemporary has shifted a little bit in recent years. Within the last, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 years, they changed the room theme inside to be Incredibles themed. So you've got little touches from Mr. and Mrs. Incredible and Violet and Dash and all of them inside of the rooms. It's not in your face theming like you would find it, like we talked about Art of Animation earlier, having like bright colors and huge statues of characters and all that kind of stuff. This theming is going to be a lot more subtle. But you will find those nods to the Incredibles as the themed in the rooms. Now, in the lobby area, there's not a ton of theming because the lobby itself is set up in a very interesting way. If you've never been in the Contemporary, a couple notes about it. The monorail goes through the middle of the resort of the hotel, so that is part of the reason why it's such an interesting interior when it comes to thinking about the lobby. The lobby area is actually like b below where, like, the main area where people will come to, like, go shopping or grab food is too. So the way that the floors are situated is interesting because like, check-in is below, the main what you would consider, like, the recreational lobby area, I guess, is, like, the 3rd floor in that resort. So that makes it a little bit different and interesting, but so the theming you will find primarily just in those rooms, right? You're not gonna see that Incredibles theming bleed into the kind of lobby areas as much at this particular resort. There are a couple different options for room types. They do have standard rooms that will sleep up to 5. They have deluxe studios that will sleep up to 4. And they also, again, have villa options there that will sleep up to 12. Some of the amenities that are included here, they do have 2 pools, and one of the pools has a water slide. The pools here are a little bit more basic than what we've talked about at some of the other resorts just because it was one of the original resorts that was built when Walt Disney World opened. The main draw here for this resort being so good for kids is straight up the location of Magic Kingdom. It is a quick walk or a monorail loop ride away from being at Magic Kingdom. If you're lucky enough to get the right room at the right angle, you can see fireworks from Magic Kingdom from your rooms. If you're, if you're on the correct side of the building and have that view. So those types of things are why this resort is such a good option for kids, especially if you are someone that's got little kids that need a midday break and you're planning on doing primarily Magic Kingdom on your trip. This is your perfect resort for for that purpose alone. So those couple room options are what they have. Again, they have some different configurations depending on your needs, but some of those are DVC rooms as well. Pools we talked about, dining, they have 2 higher end restaurants. And then they also have the Contempo Cafe, which is a very popular quick service. And then they've got Chef Mickey's. Chef Mickey's is one of the character meal options that you have. It is a buffet option where you get to meet Mickey and his friends there. One of the fun things is you can, if you are on the monorail, you can like look down into Chef Mickey's and see the characters wandering around and meeting all their friends. So that's super fun in there. Um, One of the other things that you have here that you don't have at most of the other resorts is you have a viewing area for the electrical water pageant. So if you're unfamiliar with the electrical, I always get this name like tongue twisted. So if you are unfamiliar with the electrical water pageant, it is exactly what it sounds like. So it is these small rafts that float around the Seven Seas Lagoon outside of Magic Kingdom, and they have these like LED light displays on them that are timed to different songs, and you'll find like iconic characters and music out there. Very reminiscent of the electrical light parade that used to happen inside of the park, but this one does float around on water. So this is one of the resorts that you have a viewing area for. So that is a super fun little extra that you can plan for if you do decide to stay here. As far as transportation goes, you can find bus transportation and, of course, monorail transportation at this resort as well. Transportation at this resort as well. My volume thing over here. There we go. So you have bus and monorail transportation here as well. Do keep in mind there are 2 different monorail lines that you can take. One will actually stop inside the Contemporary, so you wanna make sure that you get on the right one. The one that stops inside the Contemporary is the resort monorail, and the one that goes through it is the express monorail. So if you just wanna go through the Contemporary, express monorail is your way to go, but if you want to actually stop there, make sure you get on the resort monorail for that. And then as far as budget goes, budget is around 680 to 700 a night. Again, That's going to vary based on time of year and what type of room you're wanting to stay at, but definitely well into the deluxe side of everything for that one. Okay, let's hop back to something completely different than what we've talked about here for our next one. So, number 7 on our list is back to the moderate category of Disney resorts, and that is the Coronado Springs Resort. This one I feel like is kind of an underdog when it comes to resorts. Not a lot of people always remember that it exists. It does have a very large portion of the resort area that is for like the conventions that come into town because it does have a convention center that is affiliated with it. So that's part of the reason why. Um, but if you can look past that, it's a really great moderate resort option. So the theming, and I kind of had a hard time putting into words the theming, so I literally cut and pasted it from the Disney website because it was the easiest, like, the way they describe it was perfect, obviously. So, it says, "Celebrate the unique blend of Spanish, Mexican, and Southwest American cultures." So that's kind of the vibe that you're gonna get whenever you are at, Coronado Springs. They have lots of different room type options. And again, some of this is because of their affiliation with some of the conventions that will come into town. They do have standard room options that will seat 4 people. They have suites that will sleep anywhere from 2 to 8. So they do have some smaller room options here. They also have some they have, like, a separate tower of rooms. I guess so does the Contemporary, which we didn't really talk about here, but, they're in their tower, they have standard rooms that, again, sleep 2 to 4, and that's gonna be more of your, like, business side of things, kind of. And then they also have, like, club level suites in the tower and all those kind of fancy things. A lot of these resorts do too, especially the deluxe ones, you'll find a lot of, like, well, they've got club level or they've got, those top tiers. Again, not giving you all of the details about every single one of these resorts, but I am giving you at least a snapshot so that you can go do more looking and research as you might see fit. So lots and lots and lots of different room options here. As far as amenities, they have 3 pools. And their main pool, the theming is really, really great. They've got like a Aztec looking kind of pyramid structure on the one end of it. So super, super fun theming. It is a massive pool area that they have for that main pool, but there are 3 pools in total in the entire complex. As far as dining, they have a ton of dining options at this moderate resort, and again, I think the conference affiliation and convention center affiliation helps them with that, but they've got at least 10 options over there of different places that you can get food. Maya Grill is a really popular one, Toledo, which is the steakhouse, and they've got the Rick's Sports Bar. I hear about the sports bar a lot when people are visiting Disney property and trying to watch, like, specific games that they wanna be able to catch. That's a really good place on property to go if you're looking for a sports ball game while you're on your Disney vacation. One of the only downsides is that they've only got bus transportation, and they've got some uh, I know of a couple friends who have had issues with their buses, just long waits, unfortunately, when it comes to that. May or may not be the case for your particular situation, but just know that buses are your only option if you are staying over at Coronado. As far as the budget goes, you are looking anywhere from about around 400 a night, so, definitely firmly in that moderate category, but with the dining options that they have, really, really great amenities. Again, the theming is super, super fun, just a really, really great space for kids and just a really, really nice option with tons of really good dining for a moderate resort. We've got just 3 more on our list. So we're gonna head back over now. We were at Art of Animation very early in this list. We are gonna go right across the waterway to its sister resort now over to Pop Century. So number 9. Oh, I skipped one. Well, it's okay. We'll talk about Pop Century, then we'll go back. I scrolled too far on my list, but so this is technically number 8 on our list is Pop Century. The theme for Pop Century, it is a value resort. The theme are the different decades. So you've got a 1950s section, a 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So 5 different sections that you have over at Pop Century. All of the rooms here are going to be just your standard 4-person room for this one. There are 3 different pools. One is centrally located, in the I believe it's the 70s era that is like the central era where the hippy dippy pool is. So super, super fun theming for that. And then you've got 2 other pools as well. The other thing about this resort is we talked about this with Art of Animation having kind of larger than life theming. That's what you're going to find here, right? So you're going to find these massive statues of not Disney related IP, but true theming to the decades. So maybe not an interest to your children. Like the last time that my family stayed at Pop Century, we were in the 50s section and we had to explain to our children what a jukebox was because that was like the big theme of the 50s uh the 50s section that we were in was that, and so we had to, like, explain to them what that was, so it's super fun. They've got giant yo-yos and Rubik's cubes and guitars and, oh gosh, I don't even remember what else they have over there, but tons of really fun, larger than life theming. Not super heavy on the Disney theming. So if that makes a difference to you, keep that in mind as well. They do have again 3 pools. Only one quick service option here, kind of food court style, similar to what we saw at Art of Animation. They do also have a pool bar with some snacks and things like that as well. The big draw over here is the affordability and the access to the Skyliner, which again is just so much better than having buses only, if you ask me, having another option and the fact that it is a continually moving option. Super, super nice. So you do have a shared Skyliner station between Art of Animation and Pop Century, but a really, really great perk of having of staying at these resorts is having access to that Skyliner. The pool sections are really, really great. That's the one of the big draws for the kids as well. And the quick service food court at both of these locations, Art of Animation and Pop Century, have a ton of really, really kiddo-friendly food options. If you've got someone who maybe doesn't want all of those hundreds of options and just needs pizza, mac and cheese, and chicken fingers for your kids, but then you can also find something with some good flavor to it. Something like a Pop Century is a really great option for you. So as far as Pop Century prices go, you're looking around 200 a night, 250 a night, somewhere in that range again. Anything under that kind of 300, 350 is what Disney would consider your value kind of category. So they are right in that spot there. You can definitely find good deals for rooms at Pop Century to get them under 200 a night as well. So again, prices change and vary depending on availability, time of year, all that good stuff, holidays. So keep that in mind. But Pop Century is definitely one of the more affordable options for your family and kids. The only downside to these is that they only have rooms that sleep 4. So if you are someone that needs, uh, a 5th or a 6th, not really a good option for you as far as those standard rooms go, unless you've got little infants that you can have in like cribs and pack and plays. So again, you just really have to know your options and know what it is that you need. And then working with someone like a travel agent can definitely help you out looking at and figuring out all of the different options. So let's hop back to the one that I missed because I went out of order and I scrolled too far on my notes here on my computer. But we're going to talk about the Polynesian. So again, now for something completely different, let's talk about the Polynesian Resort. It is a deluxe resort. It is another one that can be found right near Magic Kingdom on the monorail loop. It was one of the original um, resorts that you found at Walt Disney World whenever they were first open for the first several years. The theming of this one, I did also copy and paste this one from the Disney website just because I thought it was I liked their description. So it says, celebrate the spirit of the South Pacific at this oasis of tropical palms, lush vegetation, and so much more. So, really, just a fun South Pacific Polynesian feel. To the entire resort, the vegetation, the theming of all of the resort lobby, the rooms, the pool, the restaurants, like everything is themed from top down, which is really, really fun. This is a super fun resort to just visit, even if you're not staying here. My kiddos love visiting the Polynesian to just like wander around and hang out. They just think it's such a fun vibe and such a fun, uh, it's just such a fun place to be, for them. So room types here, again, they do have some DVC options, but they've got a standard room that'll sleep up to 5. They've got deluxe studios that will sleep 4 to 5. They've got, again, those villas that will sleep anywhere from 5 to 9. They have the brand new island tower that was just built and just opened within the last year over at the Polynesian. And those are full of studio rooms that only sleep 2. So those are something kind of completely different and brand new to the Polynesian area. And then the other thing that they have that is very, very, very costly. So, if budget is not a concern for you, they also have the Polynesian bungalows. These are little tiny cabins that are outside of the main buildings and right in the water on the Magic Kingdom side of the Polynesian resort. So, those will sleep up to 8 in those. But again, very, very pricey when it comes to looking at your budget. May or may not be something you can do. And there are only a handful of them, and they're very hard to get reservations for. But they do have the bungalows over at the Polynesian as another option as well. As far as amenities, again, like I said, everything is themed top down at this resort. They've got 4 pools, with the main one having a water slide. You will find that at all the deluxe resorts, they're gonna have the water slide. The higher tier resort you stay at, the more pool amenities that they're going to have. So, keep that in mind if, your kids are big swimmers or you're planning to do a bunch of resort days or swimming every day. If your kiddos are gonna want water slides, extra, fancy pool areas and splash pads and all that kinda stuff, really look into what those amenities are because the value resorts do not have water slides. Most of the moderate ones do. So keep that in mind when it comes to that. Dining over at the Poly, I was actually kind of shocked. I knew they had a ton of options over there, but between every like part of this whole resort, there are 10 options for food. Some of them are smaller, like stands or like pool bars or things like that, but there are 10 options over there. Couple of the big names over there. Ohana is probably the one of the most famous restaurants on Disney property. It is a family style restaurant that does a character breakfast with Lilo and Stitch. So that is one of the biggest draws over there. A ton of other places over there that have really good food. If you are someone that likes a good themed bar experience, this would not be kid friendly because they do not allow children in after a certain point. But Trader Sam's Grotto is over there. This is one of the themed bars at Disney World that you can visit, and they've got all sorts of fun drinks, and the atmosphere inside is completely themed. So, again, this resort, you want to talk about being immersed in a different world, like the Polynesian is one of those really great places that you can visit for that. So, as far as transportation, you've got a ton of different options actually at this resort. So, you obviously have buses that you can take to places. The monorail does have a stop here. Again, the resort monorail is the one you want to take to make sure that you actually stop at the Polynesian. And then they do have some boat transportation to Magic Kingdom as well. And there's a boat that you can take that goes kind of between the monorail, Seven Seas Lagoon resorts as well. So different options there depending on what you'd like to do. Now, as far as your budget goes, I tried my best to kind of get a mid-range because they do have a bunch of different room types. So the mid-range number that I found was around 850 a night. That's going to vastly change if you're staying in the Island Tower Studios or the bungalows, like I talked about, the villas. But your more standard rooms, that's where that kind of 850 is going to come into play. Again, if you're like, yep, I want to stay there, Mom Street sold me on staying at the Polynesian. Look at your different room options, figure out what configuration you want, and talk to a travel agent is my best advice for that because they are trained to have all of the details about all of the resorts. I don't have all that knowledge. I just know what I've read on the internet. So be sure to do a little bit of research to figure out that, especially when you're looking at your budget, because your budget may drastically change depending on the needs of your room. And that goes for any of the resorts, Polynesian included in that. Okay, my friends, we have come to number 10 on my list. So, let's do a quick recap, shall we, of numbers 1 through 9 that we talked about so far on our top 10 Disney resorts for kids. We talked about number 1 was Animal Kingdom Lodge, number 2 was Art of Animation, number 3 was Beach Club, number 4, Boardwalk Inn, number 5, Caribbean Beach, number 6 was the Contemporary. Number 7 was Coronado Springs. Number 8, well, we did these out of order, but number 8 on my list is the Polynesian, and number 9 was Pop Century. So let's talk about number 10, last on our list. I'm going to be completely honest and transparent with you. I cheated a little because my last number 10 is Port Orleans, and it's both in one. So the Port Orleans Complex for Resorts actually has two different resorts in it. There is the French Quarter side and the Riverside side. They are both in my number 10 spot because I had a really hard time deciding between the two. They're sister resorts, so they share all of their amenities. So I just put them both as number 10. So let's talk about the Port Orleans resort area. So obviously Port Orleans French Quarter is one half of that, and that is very much the New Orleans French Quarter theming. The Riverside section is more of a what did they put on they said, oh, Disney said it is a picturesque setting that evokes the romance of rural Louisiana. So that is the description that Disney gives for the Riverside part of Port Orleans. Um, just really, really nice resorts. They're both in the moderate category. They both have really, really nice rooms. They both have really, really nicely themed areas within the resort, not only just the lobbies and the pools, but the rooms themselves and the buildings are all themed. Just such a lovely kind of escape. The thing that I think I like the most about these resorts is that it really does feel like an escape from the hustle and bustle of the parks, right? It's kind of like this little oasis because it is a little bit separate from the other resorts. These two together, you're not super close to any one thing. You've got the Sassagoula River that runs along the one side of the property. You've got horse-drawn carriages that run through the property. It's just such a different vibe, and it's so nice. But they still got a ton of things for kids to do, which is just an amazing bonus to have. So at the French Quarter side of things, they just have standard rooms that will sleep up to 4. Again, you're going to see that the setup of these rooms is very similar to the value resorts. But being that they're moderates, everything's a little bit more spaced out, which is really, really nice, especially if you've got bigger kids that maybe just need a little bit more space, or even little kids that just need a little bit more space sometimes. That's a really nice perk of having this moderate level of those Disney resorts. Over at the Riverside section, they also just have the standard rooms, but the big draw over on that side is they have what they call the royal rooms, which are their princess themed rooms, which are just absolutely gorgeous inside. I could describe it all to you, but it'll be better if you just do a quick Google search of the Riverside royal rooms just to see what they look like, but they're so pretty inside. If you've got a princess fan that likes to feel kind of fancy, glamorous a little bit, those rooms are right up their alley. So take a look at that if that's something that appeals to your travel party or your kiddos that you're going to be bringing. But again, none of them have any rooms that will sleep more than 4 or 5. So depending on your family configuration, may or may not be an option for you. Now, as far as the pools go, this is one of the really big draws to staying at this resort is you get access to both resorts' pool areas because they are sister resorts. Now, typically at Disney, you cannot just resort hop. You can't be staying at Pop Century and go to the Polynesian and use their pool. It's not how it works, unfortunately. But at these sister resorts, which there are only a small portion of them, we talked about this with Beach Club and Yacht Club earlier, but this is also true with the Port Orleans, Riverside, and French Quarter as well. So the French Quarter side has a big pool complex with one of the most famous Disney water slides. It's like a sea serpent water slide. So much fun. They've got a great splash pad area. All of that is on the French Quarter side. On the Riverside side, they've got 5 pools alone on their side because the Riverside section is a lot more spread out and a little bit more spacious. So the different sections all have a smaller pool area that are close to them. So no matter where you stay, you're going to have really close access to a pool. If you want the kind of bigger, more extravagant pool area, head over to French Quarter. If you want a more low key vibe at your pool, any of the pools over on the Riverside side are going to be where you want to go for that. As far as food goes, there is one quick service over at the French Quarter side. But the French Quarter side is also where you will find your famous Disney beignets. So the Mickey head shaped beignets that you can get are over on the Port Orleans French Quarter side. So you'll want to head over there if that's what you're looking for. And it is where you get those is directly outside of the one entrance to their main food area. Really, really great food over there. Won't surprise you that there's lots of Louisiana inspired flavors over in their food court area. As far as the Riverside side of things, there are 2 quick services over there, so 2 different options for food over on that side. Again, you're going to find one more main hub for all of their quick service food, and then one kind of smaller pool bar type stand over there as well. For both of these, as far as transportation, buses are going to be your primary form of transportation to get to the parks. But one of the really fun things that you can do is from either of these locations, you can take a boat to Disney Springs, which is a completely different mode of transportation. But I talked a little bit earlier about the Sassagoula River running on the far side of property for both Riverside and for French Quarter. So they have little boat docks that you can hop on the boat to take the boat to Disney Springs. Super, super fun. We stayed one trip, oh gosh, 3 years ago almost now or a little over 3 years ago now at Port Orleans French Quarter. And my kids still talk about that boat ride. They just thought it was so much fun to sit on that boat because it's a very different feeling. It's not like the big ferry boat that you take to get from the TTC to Magic Kingdom. It's just a smaller boat that you take down the river, and there's lots to look at, and the kids like to look for snakes in the water and the birds, and you pass by some other resorts and the golf courses and things, so lots of really fun things to see. I love that boat ride for no other reason than it's just a fun boat ride to take. So you do have boats there, but again, they won't necessarily take you to the parks, but they will take you to Disney Springs if that's something that you are interested in. Budget range, again, these are in that moderate category. On the French Quarter side, you're going to find around $337 a night. On the Riverside side, you're going to find around $383 a night. Very, very close in price from each other, but in that kind of 330 to 380 range is where you're going to find the majority of those rooms over there, which is again right in the low end of that moderate category that Disney likes to use. So that is Port Orleans French Quarter and Port Orleans Riverside, my number 10 on my list here. A two for one, if you will. But because they share amenities and they are sister resorts, I felt like I had to talk a little bit about both of them for the end of our list here. So that brings us to the end of our 10 resorts, 10 top 10 Disney resorts for kids. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast episode, these are just ones that we found were really great based on the theming and the amenities and the budget and the location that they had. Um, but if you decide to stay at someone or one of these resorts, but if you decide to stay at a resort that is not on this list, you are still going to have an amazing time because Disney is catered towards families. Disney is catered towards kids at their resorts a lot. So no matter where you stay, you're going to have a good experience. These are just 10 that we felt like really kind of go a little bit extra, maybe have one or two extra things that are really, really good for kids. But that's not to say that there aren't, 10 other ones that we could put on the next 10 list and just keep going when it comes to that. That also being said, I didn't consider any off-property resorts for this list just because I was sticking to on-property Disney resorts, but there are a ton of really great good neighbor and partner resorts that are in the Disney Springs area. So if you're like, I don't know about some of these, I'd rather just stay at kind of like the standard place that we are used to. We want a Marriott or we want an IHG location. There are tons of options around Disney Springs. So again, I highly suggest contacting a travel agent. If you need help connecting to a travel agent, send me a message. I'm happy to help you to help guide you to someone who can assist you with your trip. But before we wrap up for today, I'll do a quick recap again of our 1 through 10, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's coming up next. So let's go back down through our list just one more time for the to put a button on the end of this resort episode. We've got Animal Kingdom Lodge, Art of Animation, Beach Club, Boardwalk Inn, Caribbean Beach, Contemporary, Coronado Springs, Polynesian, Pop Century, and the Port Orleans sister resorts, French Quarter and Riverside. Coming up on our upcoming episodes of Mom Street USA. The next episode that you are going to get, we're going to be talking about doing Disney on a budget. This is a topic that we talked about a while ago on Mom Street, but I felt like maybe we needed a little refresher. So, doing Disney on a budget is going to be our next episode, which is kind of timely considering we just talked about all these resorts and how much they cost and which ones are best and what the price ranges are and all of that. So maybe you are aiming to stay at something like a Polynesian when really your budget is currently more of like a Port Orleans, and maybe some of the tips that I can tell you will help you save and make up that difference there. So that is where we are headed next. But for today, thank you all so much for joining me for this episode of Mom Street USA. As always, if you've got questions or suggestions, please reach out to us, momstreetusa@gmail.com. You can also find us at Mom Street USA on lots of social media platforms, including our new Patreon account. If you have not checked out our Patreon page, please hop on over there. We're posting some exclusive content over there, including sneak previews of the notes for the upcoming episodes for the week, and also some unedited videos and extra bonus features over there, if you will. It's like the bonus features menu on our DVD, so to speak. So that can be found all on our Patreon account. Any place that you choose to reach out to us, we would love to hear from you. And no matter what platform you're on, if you wouldn't mind giving us a like, a thumbs up, a rating, all of those things are helpful for our podcast. And for any new people that might want to check us out, it gives them an idea to know whether or not you like what we're talking about. So thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate you. And I will see you all next time on the next episode of Mom Street USA. Bye, everyone.